Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
San Diego is feeling electric tonight with the Padres set to play the Dodgers here at home in the playoffs. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The Friar faithful have been waiting a long time for a night like this. The matchup marks the Padres' first playoff game at Petco Park with fans in the stands since 2006. Excitement is high with the teams tied at 1 win apiece in the best-of-5 National League Division Series. Here's KPBS reporter Jacob Air.
Super excited. That's why we're the first ones here. I'm here to make memories with my kids.
Fans like Chula Vista's Patrick Luna have been waiting years for this moment. Behind star player Manny Machado and a strong pitching staff, the San Diego Padres are looking to use their home field advantage and take a series lead over the Los Angeles Dodgers. Longtime underdogs, the Padres are poised to change the narrative between the two organizations, says the San Diego Union Tribune sports columnist Bryce Miller.
Padre fans like to call it a rivalry. It's probably not, given that it's been so one-sided, but they also haven't played the Dodgers in the playoffs anytime recently.
Being able to witness the game is so sought after that ticket prices have raised to all-time high levels for Petco Park. Last-minute tickets are starting over $200 for a single seat, and some of the most expensive seats are going over $1,000 each. But that didn't deter Marquette and Cassandra Thomas, who drove to watch Friday and Saturday's games from Las Vegas.
I'm a native San Diegan, been, born and raised, but we moved to Vegas probably about 15 years ago. But the Padres are in the playoffs, so we got to come, it's mandatory.
Friday's Padres versus Dodgers showdown marks the first time the San Diego team will play a postseason game at home with fans in the stands since 2006.
Padre fans have not seen a victory in the history of Petco Park in the playoffs. Just winning tonight potentially would be history in Petco Park and by default in San Diego for Padres fans. But it gets amplified because you're playing the Dodgers.
Around the ballpark, bars are ramping up with more food, drinks, and staff, and extra law enforcement will be in the area to deal with the large crowds.
And that was Jacob Air reporting. No matter the outcome of the game tonight, the Padres will do it all over again at Petco Park tomorrow with hometown hero Joe Musgrove pitching. State health officials are now keeping an eye on the outbreaks that have kept thousands of students home from school this week. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado has the latest on the continuing problem.
The San Diego County Health Department says 40% of students stayed home from Patrick Henry and Del Norte high schools just on Wednesday, suffering from flu-like symptoms. Some preliminary tests were positive for influenza type A, and now the county is working with the state health department.
It is important to note, though, that the state is already involved with this. We certainly reported it up to them. I'm sure they're discussing it with their federal partners. Right now, though, this is occurring against the baseline of something that we expected to happen, and that's why we want people to be prepared.
The county's public health officer, Dr. Cameron Kaiser, warns this isn't just limited to schools.
If you're going to see a large number of people sick out in a geographic area, you tend to see it hit the schools first, not because it's not occurring other places, but that's simply because those are the ones who are keeping the closest tab on statistics.
And he says things are going to get worse, so this is not the year to wait to get your flu shot.
Across the county, we're seeing a large number of influenza cases and some of the largest counts we've ever seen for October. This is important for folks to realize that if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it probably is a duck. And we already expected it was going to be a bad flu season, and everything is clicking into place.
Dr. Teresa Hardesty is a pediatrician with Sharp Steely and says type A flu is particularly hard-hitting.
The natural immunity in the population has gone down, and influenza has really not circulated that much. So people are coming in with high fevers, serious cough, feeling achy and low energy, Usually with influenza, the fevers last for 4 or 5 days, and they can be as high as 104 or 105. So people are very uncomfortable.
But she says the safe way to build up your immune system is not to expose yourself to a bad flu.
The best advice to promote higher defenses is to give your body the pre-warning of the vaccine.
She says she's seen the worst cases in medically fragile babies, children under the age of 1, children with asthma, and pre-existing conditions. She urges parents to get them vaccinated if they're old enough. Plus,
I would recommend to be more cautious with exposure in large indoor groups in communities that have current outbreaks, probably for the next 2 weeks. And sometimes that's just not realistic.
When that's not possible, she says for children who are older, masking is an option, or talk to your doctor about medications that can protect them. And for those who are sick, plenty of rest and healthy foods are key to getting better. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
A global epidemic of cancer among people younger than 50 could be emerging. Isabella Rosales reports on the rising numbers doctors are calling alarming and what could be behind it.
You're too young to have cancer. You know, that phrase is used a lot.
But according to a new study, more and more young people around the globe under the age of 50 are being diagnosed each year with early onset cancer.
This is exactly what I'm seeing in clinic, unfortunately. I mean, the number of people that are presenting with advanced and unfortunately often incurable cancers in their 20s and 30s definitely seems to be skyrocketing.
Dr. Sunil Kamath is a gastrointestinal medical oncologist at the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio. He says the variety of different cancers on the rise in young people really surprised him. According to a review of cancer registries across 44 countries, early onset cases are rising for 14 types of cancers, many of which affect the digestive system.
The typical risk factors we think of that would cause these different tumor types are definitely different and specific to each one.
The review mentions that sensitive testing happening more in young people could account for part of the upswing, but many, including Dr. Kamath, say it mostly comes down to lifestyle. Obesity, diets rich in processed foods, smoking, and alcohol consumption, just to name a few. Dr. Kamath says one of the most important things young people can do is advocate for themselves when something doesn't feel right.
Pay attention to, what's going on with your body. And some people are going to get some resistance from their medical team, and it does mean they need to push a little harder to get to the bottom of what's going on.
In Washington, Isabel Rosales, KPBS News.
A Barrio Logan biofuels company says it's working on the odor issues that neighbors have been complaining about for months. Residents living near New Leaf Biofuels say the plant generates a stench so strong that it's uncomfortable to be outside. The company says it finally has a permit to install odor reduction systems. The Environmental Health Coalition's Nicholas Powell is cautiously optimistic, but he says the smell is still there.
As of today, there's been no change in the odor in Barrio Logan. And so we're going to continue to work with residents until they can breathe air that again doesn't make them sick.
The company has until November to install the systems. The firm takes used cooking oil and turns it into diesel fuel. Two of San Diego's most prominent supermarket chains plan to join forces. SDSU's Miro Kopik tells us what's next for the companies and their customers in the Friday Business Report.
Kroger, which is the nation's largest supermarket chain, is acquiring Albertsons, which owns Vons and Albertsons brands here in Southern California, for about $25 billion. This is an interesting thing because over the last decade, the supermarket landscape has changed so much. Whereas over a decade ago, 70% of all sales in the grocery category came through supermarkets. Today, it's less than 50%. So the power of supermarkets has declined. Now, interestingly, in San Diego, we do have a very large concentration of Kroger and Albertsons stores. So for us, it's Ralph's, it's Vons, it's Pavilions, it's Albertsons. One of the things that happened after Safeway and Albertsons merged, you saw a big decline in the use of coupons, and they claimed that they actually improved the loyalty programs of consumers, but that's going to be one of the things that regulators are going to look for. Overall, it could be a good thing for Kroger and Albertsons. It'll be interesting to see what the Justice Department thinks about it from a regulatory perspective.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, Elon Musk tells the U.S. Defense Department to pick up the tab for his internet system in Ukraine. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program known as DACA can continue. That is the ruling by a federal judge who says the program that prevents the deportation of immigrants brought to the U.S. as children can continue, at least temporarily and with limitations. There can be no new applicants for DACA, but those already in the program can stay and renew their applications. Last year, the same judge declared DACA illegal after Texas and 8 other states filed a lawsuit. The case is expected to eventually end up at the U.S. Supreme Court. San Diego City Council District 2 is among the more competitive races on the November ballot. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen looks at what's at stake in the district, which covers Claremont, Mission Beach, and Point Loma.
For the past 4 years, retired physician Jen Campbell has represented District 2. Among her accomplishments are regulations for Airbnbs and the larger market of short-term home rentals.
We will close the chapter on the unregulated market that has vexed our city, our residents, and the good faith hosts who wanted a clear set of guidelines to follow.
That was Campbell speaking at a council meeting last May. Her willingness to take on controversial issues has earned her some enemies. Her primary race was the most crowded on the city ballot, and while she came in first, she won less than 30% of the vote.
I don't feel that this district has a voice at City Hall.
Campbell's opponent is dentist and educator Linda Lucas, who says Campbell has been inaccessible to her constituents. Lucas also says public safety has gotten worse, and the city should be giving more money to the police department to update technology and pay officers more.
So we have to make sure they're fully funded. We have to support them. We have to staff them.
Still, it's Campbell who's endorsed by the Police Officers Union, a sign of the support she's built among City Hall institutions and interest groups. Lucas is the only candidate in San Diego who's endorsed by the county's Republican Party. Her performance in November will be seen as a test for the GOP brand in the post-Trump era. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
For more on the election, you can head to kpbs.org and click on the Voter Hub link on our homepage, and there you'll find all of our stories on key races as well as our in-depth ballot guide. The National Park Service is taking action to protect California's giant sequoias. It comes after up to 19% of the world's sequoia population was destroyed in the past 2 years. Starting today, park rangers will thin vegetation and use small prescribed fires to protect 11 sequoia groves at high risk. Crews will focus their efforts in the Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks.
A cornucopia of cloud cover, some showers and thunderstorms are in our forecast for the next couple of days. An upper low is approaching, and that will move right across our area into the weekend. So showers and thunderstorms, they'll be spreading inland tonight into tomorrow. We'll see below average temperatures through the weekend. And then next week, it'll be dry and warmer early in the next week, and then perhaps another upper low approaching later. But we can worry about that later on. For now, though, tonight we're calling for some showers to arrive later at night. A lot of clouds around, temperatures in the mid-60s. So here comes our upper low, spreading its showers into the coastal areas later during the evening. And then overnight, we'll see some clouds gathering here in the mountains. Temperatures hovering in the low 50s there. Now, during the day on Saturday, here it comes, the upper low spinning its way eastward. Showers and thunderstorms will be erupting in our area, and we'll be looking at widespread low clouds to go along with that too. So our marine layer, it's been rather stubborn, hasn't it? Well, it's plenty of clouds into the weekend, and then on the future cast you can see these blips indicating some showers and thunderstorms trying to rotate around the upper low. Still the risk for a shower or thunderstorm into Sunday, but it will be drier. Most of the action will be shifting farther to the east. So as we take a look at our forecast, here at the coast, a couple of showers on Saturday, and then it starts to dry out on Sunday. Next week, you can see it does get warmer as we head to the inland areas. Showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder, and then for Sunday, it'll be dry but cool, and then the warm-up comes Tuesday and Wednesday. Head of the mountains, a few storms rumbling through on Saturday, and then it's drier, milder next week. And in the deserts, a few storms here too. And then after the weekend, temperatures are back in the 90s. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
As the cost of living in San Diego rises, many artists are unable to pursue their passion, needing to take other jobs to pay their bills. But the people behind a new housing development in Vista want to change that by focusing on art and affordability. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne gives us a look.
New residential developments pop up everywhere. But this one in Vista has a special focus.
What we did here at Paseo Artist Village was to provide the resources of a work area for artists as well as a artist gallery, along with affordable apartments in one place.
Mary Jane Jagodzinski is with Community Housing Works, a nonprofit organization that develops affordable apartment communities in California. While they operate different properties in San Diego, Paseo Artist Village is the only one that is art-focused.
Many artists get priced out of gentrifying areas where they can no longer afford to live and the rent. So it's really important to provide affordable apartments that they can remain and be part of the fabric of the community.
The village has 60 units, an art gallery, a community room, and resources for residents. Applications were open to local artists, veterans, seniors, and their families.
One bedrooms at the lowest level of income, rent would be about a little over $550 a month. A 3-bedroom at the highest income, rent would be a little more than $1,350 a month. So when you hear of these astronomical rents today, you can see these really are affordable.
And affordable living is what Addie Seeley needed to continue creating.
I moved back down here from Los Angeles after I graduated from Cal State Long Beach, Go Beach. And I was looking for a place because I moved in with my son. And I moved into the garage.
Now in her apartment at Paseo Artist Village, she has the space to create what she pleases at an affordable price.
I am on a fixed income, and after I pay the rent and everything else that I'm responsible for, I might have about $60 left for the month.
Seeley says creating art is what keeps her busy. She paints, makes glass art, ceramics, and jewelry. But she still has a little doubt in her work.
I think every artist goes through a phase where they are not necessarily, I don't know if I want to do this. No, this isn't good enough. No, I'm not ready. And that was me.
Seeley says that doubt may fade away with the art gallery available to residents. Luis Ferres also lives at Paseo Artist Village. His main source of income is from working with children with autism, but in his free time, he draws and paints.
Doing art is almost a form of therapy, so, you know, it can help with your mental health, expressing yourself through a new medium.
Ferres says the affordability of his new apartment lets him spend more time doing what he loves.
I believe that it's a necessary part of life that sort of been neglected with our fast-paced way of living.
Developers of the property say the project synchronizes with Vista's revitalization of their arts and culture district. Vista council member Corina Contreras says she's happy to see a development that is making places for all.
I want to see a revitalization continue to happen where we're not displacing people. That's the most important thing, because a lot of people are afraid of gentrification and what the implications are for them and their families and the future of their families.
More events and opportunities are on the way at the Paseo Artist Village, including a popular sandwich chain taking on the retail space.
Tons of people enjoy Jimmy John's, and we're going to have the first one here in Vista.
San Diego's first Jimmy John's sandwich chain is expected to open in Vista next year. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
There's a new museum in the heart of Chicano Park, breathing life into the historic land under the Coronado Bridge in Barrio Logan. KPBS education reporter MG Perez has the story as Hispanic Heritage Month draws to a close.
Fifth grade students from Burbank Elementary are on a field trip to Chicano Park. It's an interactive experience on sacred ground in Barrio Logan. The elementary school children might not realize the significance of what they're saying, but the murals on the pillars offer plenty of inspiration, especially for 11-year-old Melanie Araujo.
The colors were really creative, and I liked how it showed how it was in the past and how the history happened.
Probably more of a curiosity, probably more so of kids being metiches or nosy.
65-year-old Rigoberto Reyes lived the history. When he was 13, he rode his bike from San Isidro to the place that Barrio Logan residents had been promised would become a park for their neighborhood. That was in 1970. What happened next became known as the Chicano Park takeover, when residents fought to stop workers clearing acreage to build a highway patrol station. They also fought for their identity.
We've been calling anything from Spanish Americans to wetbacks to Hispanics, Latinos, and the etiquetas or the brands could go on forever.
Reyes's childhood memory is now documented in the new Chicano Park Museum that opened this week. The art exhibit is called Pillars, Stories of Resilience and Determination. This museum will preserve Hispanic heritage and lead to much more learning about its legacy.
But it is about teaching youth and adults about their own heritage and their own culture so that they become agents of change in their own right.
Pillars are the foundation of this story, while organizing and fundraising for the new museum started in 2016. The idea has been around for more than 50 years.
The government has betrayed their promise.
And now these students from the nearby elementary school have realized the dream that so many of their ancestors created.
It's important because you can look at the paintings and think about what happened in the past.
The museum is open Friday through Sunday for now and is free for youth under the age of 18 to enjoy, to learn, and to dream.
I want to be a doctor.
A doctor? What kind of doctor?
A doctor that checks people's hearts and checks how they're doing.
These young students might just understand the significance of what they're saying, after all. MG Perez, KPBS News.
Poe Fest is a celebration of the author Edgar Allan Poe, as well as all the things strange and otherworldly. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando previews the event that kicks off tonight.
A new movie called Raven's Hollow looks at a young Edgar Allan Poe and is proof that the tormented author continues to fascinate us, even though he died more than 170 years ago.
I died! Did you know that? They could have told me before I spent decades and decades wandering the earth as a wayward spirit, haunting museums.
Poe, channeled through actor Travis Rhett Wilson, will be haunting Right Out Loud's Poe Fest at the beautiful Victorian Villa Montezuma Museum.
Of course, when I'm there as Poe, in a manner of speaking, it'll be haunted. So, because Poe's there, Poe's ghost invades, infiltrates.
Poe Fest bears the name of the 19th century writer because it celebrates the macabre themes that he made perversely enthralling.
Once upon a midnight jury, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore.
But Poe Fest is not just about Poe. Every night, housekeepers will guide guests through multiple interactive performances where you might help the weird sisters brew a potion.
Double, toil and trouble, fire, burn and cauldron bubble. Read the first item!
Or meet the author of Frankenstein.
You know who I am, don't you? Mary Shelley. That's Mary Shelley.
Megan Carmichael plays Mary Shelley.
She was really
adverse to interviews and to the press and to bringing herself forward in public because everybody asked her this same question, which was, you're a young woman. How did you think of this story? How did you think of this gross, gory, terrifying story of literally reanimating something that's dead to life?
His gigantic, shadowy form, clothed like the ghost in Hamlet, was seen at midnight.
She kind of puts the public and the press a little bit in their place with her answer. Why shouldn't a young girl think of things like this? Why shouldn't, who's to call this hideous?
Poe Fest will celebrate the hideous, the weird, and the wonderful for the next 3 weeks. Beth Agamondo, KPBS News.
And it's not just the Padres. Wave FC are also in the playoffs. The women's soccer club led by Team USA star Alex Morgan will host the Chicago Red Stars. First kick is scheduled for 7 o'clock Sunday night at Snapdragon Stadium. And if they win, they'll take on the Portland Thorns the following week. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.